Hi, I'm Len Kammerman. I'm an ACT certified consultant with Hero Technical Solutions. In this training video, I'm going to show you how to use or to get more use out of the Opportunities section in ACT. What we're going to cover in this video will include what is an opportunity, and we'll talk about the features of it and try to help you decide, first of all, whether or not you might want to use this feature, and second, how you would go about using it. Principles of an opportunity. So what are the pieces that make up an opportunity record in ACT, and what do they look like, and how do they work? And then we'll talk about two different approaches for using opportunities. One detailed approach that lets you get more out of the opportunities but also requires you to enter more information, as well as a simpler approach that gives you a list of opportunities to work from that won't have the same reporting capabilities, but will also take a little less time to get entered into your database. And then if you're not going to use opportunities for tracking potential business, I'll show you how to harness the power of the opportunities feature to track some other information that you need in your database. And we'll work through an example together. Okay, so what is an opportunity? Well, simply put, an opportunity is a potential piece of business that you would like to keep track of. Could be for a single product or service, could be for multiple products or services that you're packing together, but essentially it is a single piece of business with one of the contacts in your database. Okay, so what are the parts of that opportunity? Well, I'm going to give you a list here quickly, and then we'll jump into ACT and take a look at each of these in the program. Okay, an opportunity is associated with one or more contacts, companies, or groups. All right, so it's related to usually the contact record for the person that is primarily responsible for working with you on this piece of business. So it's the person that you're selling to. It's used to track one or more products. Okay, so and by product, I don't necessarily mean a physical product. You know, it could be a service. It's what you're selling. Okay, and you need at least one in there so that you can put a value on it. They use a number of date fields. When we put an opportunity into the system, it records the date that we put it in. It also allows us to put the date that we think we're going to close the business, and then when we actually do close it, and whether we won or lost the business, it tracks that date as well. So there's a lot of date tracking going on. And they have a process, sales stage, and status. So the stage is one of the steps in our sales process. So not everyone will use that feature, but if you do have a documented sales process where you have steps, you can note which step each one of your opportunities is at, so that you can take a look at your pipeline and see how many opportunities and of what value are at each stage. And status is simply for tracking, is it open? Did we win it? Did we lose it? Or is it inactive? And they also have their own related records. Opportunities underwent a huge change in ACT 2010. Before, they were a less important player in the database. They belonged to a contact, but they didn't have their own customizable screens. You got some limited customization, but opportunities really changed in ACT 2010. So since we're looking at 2012 for this lesson, what I'm going to show you is going to be what you would see if you were on ACT 2010, 2011, or 2012. If you're on an earlier version, a lot of this will apply, but some things are going to be a little different and a little less customizable for sure. Okay, so I am in an opportunity record. I've gotten here by going into the opportunity section via the nav bar on the left-hand side of the screen, and I'm looking at an opportunity, again, in the style of opportunities from ACT 2010 and later. So just like the other primary record types, the contacts, companies, and groups, I can customize all the fields that are on this screen. So some of these are unique things to the sales opportunity, like our process and stage here, but we have additional fields that we can add to the lower sections of the tabs. We can add fields up to the top here. You know, we've got some kind of default fields added in here into this demo database, but you can add whatever fields you need to track on your opportunity. So if there's some special information that you need for each sale, you can add that by customizing this. And when we go through the demo later on of how to kind of repurpose an opportunity, I'm going to be covering how to customize the fields on an opportunity record. Okay, and also like the other records, we have related information. So we've got the contacts that are attached to this opportunity. We may or may not use the groups and companies as well. We've got notes, activities, history, just like the other records. We've also got products and services. Okay, so that allows us to add one or more products to an opportunity. And I'm going to take a look at this existing product here that's already been added. And you can see that we can pick the product. It may or may not use an item number. We can put the quantity in. If we like it, we can put our cost. We'll put in a price, even discounting. And you can put in as many of those as you want, and they will give you a total for this sale. Okay, so right now this one doesn't have anything in there. It's totaling up to 0. So let's actually go in. We're going to put in a price of $1,300 on this particular product. And you can see up here in the total now it says $1,300. Okay, we've also got dates on this opportunity. Here's the open date. So this opportunity was put in here on September the 30th, 2010. And we've estimated that it would close on October 30th, 2010. Well, obviously that didn't happen because this record is still open. And then we've also got a probability. Okay. Now, the probability can be entered manually, or it can be driven by what stage it's at in the sales process. ACT allows you to have sales processes that have a number of stages, and as you move through each stage, it can change the probability. Now, the way that you edit these processes, you can do it from the drop down and edit them here. So I can go in, and here I've got 2 sales processes. And I won't go into editing the processes there, but I just want to show you where that's at so you can get at it. And then the stages allow you to edit not just the stage name itself, but also the probability associated with it. So what this means is when I change my sales stage to commitment to buy, it's going to bump the probability up to 80%, which means that it's also going to change something called the weighted total. Okay, so I'm going to make this commitment to buy. Now, because it's an 80% probability, it gives me this total, a weighted total. It's a calculation where I get my total times the probability of 80% and figures out, that kind of the value of this opportunity right now is $1,040. The idea behind this is that if you have 2 opportunities, both with a 50% close rate, and let's say they're both $1,000, you would expect, based on laws of averages, that you're going to make $1,000 in sales between those 2. So by setting up the sales stages, putting in your best guess and perhaps refining that over time, it allows you to do a little bit of forecasting there. Okay, so now we'll talk about opportunity styles, and what I mean by that is different approaches or methodologies for using the sales opportunity in ACT. And the first way that we're going to look at is a very detailed method of tracking the opportunities. We're going to put a lot of information in, which in turn allows us to get more reports out of it, but also is going to require some more time to put it in. So I'm going to show you the simple, the detailed first, and then the simple, and then help you decide, which one of those 2 ways, or somewhere in the middle, that you might actually decide to use opportunities. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a new opportunity, and I'm going to fill in as much detail as I can. Okay, so this is our detailed method of using sales opportunities. So I'm going to start off by creating a new sales opportunity. I click the button on my big toolbar here, and it defaults with the name of new opportunity. So I'm going to call this widget order for car part manufacturer. Okay, so maybe the contact that I'm going to pick there, car part manufacturer, and think of this kind of like a subject line for the opportunity. It's just something that you can see that will quickly tell you what the opportunity is. Sometimes you might even put the name of the company in here. Usually when you look at a list of opportunities, the company name is shown, but you might want to add that in. Okay, so I just opened this, so it defaults to an open opportunity, and it's got today's date, October 14th, 2011 in there for the open date, and then it puts in the estimated close date for today. Well, unfortunately, we're good, but we're not that good. We're not going to close things the same day. So we might think, okay, in this case where we've just met with them, we're going to put this in here, and we know that usually it takes us about a month to close this kind of a sale. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in for November the 14th. Okay, that's my estimated close date. So when I'm looking at opportunities sorted by date, that's the date that it's generally going to use. Later on, I'll get to fill in the actual close date. Okay, and right now, I've just met with them, so I'm at the initial communication stage in my process, and that's also got a probability of 10% tied to it. Let's actually go and change this. Let's say that we did the needs assessment with them. That's part of our process, and now we know that we close probably about 1 in 4 opportunities once we've done a needs assessment. So we have a probability of 25% there. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to add the products here. So, all right, let's pretend that's a widget. And so that's the system. And we're going to talk about cases here. So I'm going to put in 10 cases, and if you know your cost, you can put it in. That's not that critical. Most of the time we're more concerned with what the actual price is. So I don't know what the cost is here. The system says it's $5,000. I've picked that. We'll go with the $5,000. And then we've got a price of $12,000. That's a nice margin, isn't it? And then if we wanted to, we could put in an actual adjusted price or do some discounting here. So maybe I'd promise them that if they place the order within the month, we might go ahead and give them a 5% discount on it. Okay, and that's going to give us our subtotal. Alright, so I click that. So now this opportunity has a total value of $114,000. It's weighted right now at $28,500 because we have a probability of 25%, and it'll show our margin in here because we entered the cost. Alright, now the other thing that we didn't do yet is we didn't put a contact on this. Now, if you create the opportunity from a contact screen, the contact's already going to be filled in for you. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and randomly choose one. Okay, so now I've got that filled in. Alright, so I've got all the details that I would want to track on the opportunity. You could add additional products if there were more than one item that you wanted to put on this opportunity, but I've got everything filled in there. I've given it a name. I'm using the sales process and stage, working with the probability. I've put in an estimated close date. I've added my contact. Everything's there. So, it takes a little bit to put in, but the value of this is you know what products are being sold. You have the dates on there. You can see where it's at. So that's a pretty good way to do things. Next, I'm going to show you kind of a more simple way to put in the opportunities. Okay, now we'll take a look at a simpler way to do this. This is going to be, the bare minimum that we really need to enter to make tracking opportunities worthwhile. This is going to give us not so much detail about the sale itself, but kind of just a reminder of all the open business that we have, so that we can take a look at these and see if we need to be taking some kind of action to be moving along these opportunities in our system. Okay, so this time let's do a minimal opportunity entry just to give us enough to remind us that there's a piece of business there that we need to be working on, but we won't put in a lot of information beyond that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a new opportunity, and I'm going to give this a name. Let's call it CRM support plan, something related to our own business here. The status is open, and we may put an estimated close date on this. So even if you're not doing a lot else, I like to put in the estimated close date so that you can see the timing on things, when you expect that you might make this sale, so that you can be taking the appropriate actions beforehand to make sure that happens. So I'm going to put that in for November 14th. I'm going to put the contact in here. Okay, so I'm picking my contact. All right. Now, I don't have a value on this yet, and the value to me is important. So I could leave it at this. Then at least I know I've got the opportunity to sell a CRM support plan to Nicola, and that I'm expecting that if we make the sale, it's going to happen around November the 14th. I'm also going to put in a product, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to keep a list of all the products we possibly sell in here. I'm just going to put in CRM support plan. I'm going to put in a quantity of 1, and I'm going to put in the price. So in this case, let's say that this plan is a $3,000 a year plan. I'm going to hit OK. That's it. That's all I'm going to do with it. So you could use the sales stages as well. You could put in more detail about the opportunity. When you're done, you can be tracking the reason that you won or lost the sale and the competitor. But that's kind of the minimum entry there. Give it a name, give it an estimated close date, and put in a product and with a value on it. Even if you're not tracking, you don't have a full list of products in your system, that's the way that I would do it. And what I should also show you that we hadn't covered yet is when you close the opportunity, you want to put the reason in there and perhaps the competitor. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're gonna say that we actually lost this opportunity, and the reason for it. Let's pick this one. Competitor had local representatives, and then under the strategy, we can choose the competitor. Okay, so here's who we lost to. You're not always going to know that, but if you put it in when you do, you'll be able to see over time, who you're losing things to and for what reasons, and that may be some useful information for you. You'll notice the rest of the fields are grayed out at this point, so there are a few things that we can change, but once we close the activity, we can't really do a whole lot more with it. So there you have kind of the simple view of how to work with an opportunity. Okay, so here I've got a list of the features or the fields on the opportunity that are optional. Now, if you do all these features here, or make use of all these features, you're going to get the benefits associated on the right. Now, if you're doing the simple method, you may not use any of these, but you'll trade off the benefits. So I wanted to show you what ties to what here. So if you're using the sales processes and stages, what that allows you to do is see how far along an opportunity is. And that's especially important if you're not using ACT on your own, if you're managing other people that are putting their sales information in. And putting that stage in also allows you to tie a probability to the stage. Okay, so when we move it to the third stage, maybe at that point we know that we've got about a 50-50 chance of closing the business. That helps us for forecasting. If you put detailed line items in, then you'll actually be able to see what's being sold, and it'll calculate the prices for you. And then you can also do reporting, of course, on what products you're selling, how much of your total sales they're making up. The estimated close date is critical if you want to be able to see what you're expecting to close when, obviously. And that allows you to sort them as well. So if you have a list of opportunities and you're keeping up with the estimated close date, you can sort them on that to see what's going to close the soonest. So you can say, okay, you know what, this opportunity is still open. They were expecting to make a decision about a week from now. That's the one I'm going to tackle first. So it'll help you sort, and for forecasting as well, that one is absolutely important. If you want to know, who are we losing business to, who are we winning against more often, when you close the opportunity, you can put the competitor in. Also, the reason is very similar to that. If you want to be able to see who you're losing sales to or what the reasons are that you're winning or losing sales, and I know you probably think that you know these, but sometimes it's really revealing to keep track of them and then actually look at the numbers afterwards. So those are kind of the optional items for tracking a sales opportunity. If you're really going to get in there and use them, these are the things to fill out, and those are the benefits that you trade off. Okay, so now if you're not using opportunities for tracking sales, either because you've skipped ahead to this part of the video or you've looked at the opportunities and said, you know what, it's probably not really something for me. I want to show you a way that you can take advantage of the opportunities and reuse them to track other information in the database. Alright, so we're going to do that by customizing the opportunity. We're going to create additional fields, we're going to modify the layout and really set this up to track something besides sales. Okay, so yeah, it doesn't have to be something sales related just because it's an opportunity. It's still going to have the opportunity name on it. You're going to see opportunities showing up in the program, but you'll know that when you see opportunity, you're really tracking something else. And you can link it to other records as well. So because opportunities have the capability to link to contacts, companies, and groups, whatever other information you're tracking is going to have that same linking ability. You've got security as well. Opportunities allow you to assign it to one or more contacts or teams, so only they have access to it, or you can leave it public. Opportunities also allow you to go in there, pick a bunch of those records at once, and assign the security on it. And so what we're going to look at here is a demo of customizing the opportunity, and I'm going to show you an opportunity, sorry, not an opportunity, but an example that would involve vehicle servicing. So in place of an opportunity, what we're tracking is a vehicle. And for that vehicle, we might want to know when it's due for service, so we might track the mileage, track the next date that it's due for service. We may have a warranty that we've offered on that vehicle that is going to be up for renewal at a certain date, and maybe we want to keep track of when they last purchased tires from us, so that we can see based on the mileage we keep track of when they might be due for a new set of tires, and we can call them or maybe even email them or set up some kind of reminder system to take advantage of that. Okay, so if we're going to customize the opportunity record in ACT, first thing that we want to do is add some additional fields to it. And when we get to the layout, we'll pull some of this stuff off. Okay, so I'm going to go into Tools and to Define Fields, and then I'm going to add some fields for the opportunity. So I have to think about what I'm tracking and what I might want to track about that. So I'm tracking vehicles, so I want to know what the mileage is. And that is going to be a number. It doesn't have decimal points, it's just a number, so I'm going to pick number there. Alright, and I'm going to go ahead and just hit next and finish that one. And if you were really doing this, you would probably enter more fields than I'm going to, but I just want to give you the idea of how to go ahead and start doing this. So I've got the mileage in there. I'm going to say, let's create a field for the last service date. Okay, so that's going to be a date or date time. We don't care about the time, we just want the date, so I'm going to pick date here. I'm going to hit finish. And then let's put in a make and model as well. So because we might want a drop down for that, before I create the field for the make and model, I'm going to hit the drop down list, and I'm going to create a drop down list for the make. Okay, and I don't want the users in my database to be able to edit the list. I'm going to do that as the administrator. Okay, so I can add Ford and so on. And then I'm also going to create a drop-down list for model. Now the model in ACT, one drop-down can't be dependent on another, so the model is just going to have to include all the different models. So we'll go ahead and turn off the editing options here. Alright, so you could go in and put whatever you like here. Okay, and so on, and you would create your list there. Now if you have them in a file somewhere, you could import them as well. I'm just going to enter a few as an example. So I've finished this. I'm going to go back to my field editing by clicking Home. And now I'm going to create the fields on the opportunity that I used for that. So I'm going to put this in as, I'm going to call this make. and it's a character field, and I'm going to use the drop-down list I created called make. Alright, and I want people to only be able to select things from my drop-down list. I don't want them to type in whatever else I want. That does mean I should make sure I do a really good job of completing that drop-down list after. I'm going to say limit to list. You can't pick multiple values. Yeah, we'll enable type ahead. Hit next here. 50 is plenty long. I'm going to make this actually, let's make that 30. I can't imagine a vehicle make that or model that's going to be longer than that. So I hit finish, and I'll put in model here. I'm doing the same thing. I'm using the drop-down list that I created. I'm limiting it to the list, and I'm going to make this one 30 as well, and I'll hit finish. Okay, so I've added my fields. Now let's go ahead and modify our layout. So I'm going to close this. Okay, Act 2011, 2012, when you modify fields, it's going to say, do you want to go ahead and modify your layout? And it'll take you straight there. I'm going to click no so I can show you how to get to this if you don't get this message popping up. Alright, you're going to go ahead and go to the Tools menu, and then Design Layouts, and go to Opportunity. Now you may want to keep the original sales opportunity layout intact in case you ever decide to go back and use it. So I'm going to go ahead and do a file, save as. I'm going to call this vehicles. Okay, that way I can do whatever I want here with this layout, and I'm not too worried about losing this information. So let's go ahead and let's get rid of everything that's on here right now. This is why we want to keep a copy of the old layout in case we want to go back to this. I'm just going to take all this stuff out of here. The opportunity name, we'll leave that on there. But then let's go ahead and add in the new fields we created. Okay, so we have make. If I hold the control key, I can add multiples at once. The mileage, the model, and the last service date. And if I check off include a label, it's going to throw a label on the screen for me. I'll click add. Okay, now it adds the fields here. Now, I don't want my fields in bold. I do want, we'll turn the bold off on the labels as well, see how that looks. Yeah, it looks okay. I'm going to grab these and then hold control and click on opportunity name. And I'm going to line these up. And you can move these around with the mouse too, but I like using some of the built-in tools to line these up. I'm going to select these, hold control, and pick opportunity name. The white box means this one's in charge here, so if I make everything match, it's going to match the one that's in the white box. So I'm going to go to Format, make same size, both height and width. I'll align them left. Okay, maybe I've got to move these over a little bit. I'm doing that with my arrow keys. And I'm going to right align this. Okay, so this is pretty quick. I might spend some more time making this look a little nicer. I want to move this around. Because I probably want the last service date to be under there, and I want the make and model together. So we'll go and move that around. Again, you can do this with the mouse too. I just like doing it that way. We'll move the whole thing up. And maybe we'll make the make and model. We'll make those bold. Bump up the font size a little. Okay, so, and then maybe we want to add a graphic to this. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save this for a moment, but then I'm going to go in and under the drawing section, I'm going to put an image in here. Okay, and then I'm going to view the properties window. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and choose the picture here. Browse there. Let's see where I kept this thing. Alright, and you can either make this box the right size or you can tell your picture to fit. Alright, and then I can change around that there. Put on my screen. And I'm going to go ahead and save the layout. And I'm going to close the layout editor. So now I've got my original opportunity layout called Act Demo, but if I go in here, I've also got vehicles. Okay, now I've got those new fields that I added. I've kind of cleaned up the screen here. And what I can also do is, not only do I have a place where I can store this information, but I can say, I can put in last service date. Let's say we had this filled in for July the 6th. Now we can do a search where I'm going to go to the lookup menu. Let's save this so we make sure it's there. I'm going to go to the lookup menu, and I'm going to go to other fields. I'm going to choose last service date. I'm going to say on or before, actually let's go older than 90 days. Okay, and what this will do is it'll bring up a list of all the vehicles that we've entered that have a last service date that was more than 3 months ago. Okay, so in this case it brought me straight to this record because I just entered this one. It's the only one in my database right now. But you get the idea here. That this would let you track as many different vehicles as you wanted, associate with them with the customer that they belong to in the database, and do things like searches for vehicles that are over or under a certain mileage, or have been serviced within a certain time frame, or of a particular make or model, or any field that you create to keep track of. You can then do searches based on this. So there's an example. I'm sure that you're going to come up with things that you could track for your business to use the opportunities for if you decide not to use them for sales. Okay, so that wraps up our opportunity lesson. I hope that was helpful to you, whether you decided to get some more use out of the opportunities, or that you're going to customize that section to track something else that you've been wanting to include in your ACT database but just weren't sure how to do it. Our next video is going to be on the activity series, which is another really overlooked feature. I'm going to show you different ways to use that, show you how to set them up and how they work, because they're a little complicated at first glance, but I'll take you through them, help you to use them. Also, if you haven't been to our website already, again, you may want to check out our company website at www.yourcrmhero.com. And we've also got an ACT-centric site, so it's blog articles just exclusively on ACT-related content over at www.exacttactics.com. Thanks for checking out our video again. This is Len Kammerman from Hero Technical Solutions, and I will see you next time.